My name's Pearl. I'm 29 years old, and I just gave birth to a child. Although that birth did not happen without my mother-in-law nearly killing me. I know I sound insane, but let me tell you this story. Let me begin by telling you a little more about my husband, Adrian. Adrian and I met in college and started dating pretty much as soon as we met each other. It was love at first sight, and I just knew that he was going to be my forever. We had an amazing connection, and really nobody got me the way that he did. After we graduated, we moved in together. While I had no complaints about Adrian, I did have several complaints regarding Adrian's mother, Becky. Now, if there is something that you must know, it's that Adrian and his family moved to my state when he was 12. When they moved from Missouri, they all had endearing Southern accents, and of course they behaved a little differently. I'm saying all this because I use the excuse of them having different cultures to reason away Becky's horrible treatment of me. Becky hated me from the get-go. She hated the fact that I had taken her precious son away from her, but even more than that, she hated how the rest of Adrian's family absolutely adored me. I hadn't done anything in particular. I just listened to what they had to say and remembered them so I could bring it up the next time I met them. Apparently, they felt like I cared about them too, which I did, and that boosted my reputation. Becky could not stand that, so she would constantly make snide remarks at my expense and would belittle all my achievements. When people started standing up for me, she began to do it in a manner that only I heard. Anyways, Adrian quickly put a stop to that by always being by my side. After about 7 years of dating Adrian and I decided to tie the knot. We had a small and intimate ceremony, and it was the happiest day of my life. Becky did try to start things, but we quelled it pretty fast by telling her she had to behave or she would be thrown out. After Adrian and I got married, my bond with his family only grew tighter. Suddenly, whenever Adrian's relatives would fly out, they were staying at our place as opposed to staying in a hotel like they always did. Becky was practically fuming at this. She tried her best to keep sabotaging me, but no one cared or they stood by my side. It got to a point where Adrian's relatives were refusing to interact with Becky without us being there. It turns out that Becky tends to be horrible not only to me, but to her family as well, which was why her relatives would rather spend time with us than her. Anyways, aside from all that, after 3 years of marriage, I began to experience some weird abdominal pains. At first, I brushed it off, but they would happen at random times, and something told me to get it checked. So I did, and it turned out that I was 4 months pregnant. That was a huge shock because I truly did not look pregnant at all. The weight that I gained, I just attributed it to the holidays. I was genuinely excited to tell Adrian about it when he got back home, so I made up some fancy dinner and brought out a good bottle of wine. "Welcome home, sweetie." "Whoa, what's going on here? What's with the fancy dinner? Why don't you sit down first? I have some news to share with you." "Okay, should I be worried?" "Absolutely not. In fact, I think you're going to be really happy." "All right, I'm excited. Spill." "Right, so you know how I've been having really weird pains in my stomach." "Uh-huh." "Well, I went to the doctor about it today, and she ran a few tests on me. Turns out my stomach's completely normal." "Oh, what was it then?" "Turns out that I'm pregnant." "What? Oh my gosh, are you serious?" "The best part is that I'm 4 months along." "What? How is that even possible?" "Turns out that I have what's called a hidden pregnancy, and on top of that, I haven't had any other symptoms. I had relatively short periods, but I didn't think that was abnormal. The pains I was feeling were just kicks. Oh my God, this is big news. I'm so happy." "Me too. And this couldn't be happening at a better time. We're finally doing well financially, and I was going to ask you if we could start trying. Anyway, we're going to have to tell everyone about that. I'm worried about the way your mother is going to react." "What do you mean?" "You know how much she hates me. She hates that everyone loves me. I'm worried that with the pregnancy announcement, I'm going to get more attention, and she'll hate me even more. If you're okay with it, I'll have a strong word with her about her behavior. You don't have to worry about anything. The only thing you have to do is enjoy being treated like a princess. I would like that talk and the princess treatment. I say we wait until we find out the gender of the baby before we have a celebration, though. I love that idea. Now, let's have a little celebration of our own." Eugene and I were over the moon with my pregnancy. We hadn't made any concrete plans, but we did set aside some savings for when we eventually did want to have kids. We waited another month before telling our families about the good news. My family was overjoyed, and so was Adrian's, well, except, Becky. Surprisingly, she barely reacted, except for scowling at us. Eugene and I decided to have a gender reveal party at our house. We planned to have a backyard barbecue party and invited both our families to it. We had it in the traditional cutting the cake method, and we found out that I was having a boy. I was so happy and so ready to start decorating our nursery. The entire party, I was pretty much treated like a queen. Everyone gave me so much attention and kept asking me questions, and I felt like I was on top of the world. At some point, though, I noticed that Becky wasn't around. After a little asking around, I found out that Becky was in the house. So I went into our house to go get Becky to come out. I looked around, and then I found her at the top of the stairs. I approached her and asked her what she was doing there. "Becky, what are you doing here? The party's downstairs." "Oh, I'm just trying to find proof." "Proof of what?" "Of your lies." "Excuse me, what lies?" "Oh, come on now. Ain't nobody's believing that you got a baby in there." "Are you trying to tell me that you think my pregnancy is fake?" "Of course not. You're too tiny to be 7 months pregnant. There ain't no child in there. Every woman experiences pregnancy differently. Just because I'm not as big as I'm supposed to be doesn't mean I'm not pregnant. Don't you dare lie. You just want everyone's attention. Why would I fake a whole pregnancy just to get attention? And why would I want attention in the first place? I know you're kind. You're jealous that my son pays me all the attention when I come over, and you want to take that away. Becky, I think you're projecting some of your feelings onto me, and I really don't appreciate that. I have no need for attention because I naturally get it. You're trying to steal from me, and I do not appreciate that. Look, you're stressing me out, and that is not good for the baby. I'm just going to go. Stop trying to steal the spotlight. No one gives a darn about you. The last thing I remember was her pushing me down the stairs and then feeling excruciating pain. I passed out for a while, and when I finally came to, I was in a hospital bed with a tube running through my hand. And weirdly, I was in pain in my abdomen. I had no idea about what had happened, but thankfully, Eugene was sitting right beside me. He was asleep in his chair. I coughed a little, and that woke him up immediately. He looked so shocked and relieved to see me awake. "Pearl, you're awake. Thank God." "What? What happened?" "You fell down some stairs." "Are you sure?" "Yeah, I have some really bad news, and I need you to be as calm as you can." "Oh no, how's my baby?" "Don't tell me something happened to my precious child." "Pearl, sweetie, calm down, please. You just lost a lot of blood, and we're struggling to find a suitable donor. But what about my baby? I need to know if my baby is okay." "Because of how much blood you were losing, they had to induce your pregnancy, and you gave birth. But how's the baby?" I can't say." "What do you mean?" "They're doing everything they can to stabilize our child." "Where is he?" "I need to see him." He's in the NICU. He's in good hands. You have nothing to worry about. There's nothing more you can do. Don't blame yourself for anything. Once we get a donor for you, we can focus on our child. Okay, yeah, but I'm not blaming myself. Good. I have someone else to blame. What do you mean? I'll let you know, but could you please bring your mother down here? Why? Just, please don't ask questions. I'm going through enough. Bring her here and tell her everything that happened in front of me. I'll explain everything else after. Okay, but first, let's get you your blood, and then we'll do everything else that you wanted. Yeah, okay. Eugene went to talk to my doctor, and thankfully, they had found a donor who was willing to donate immediately for me. The stress of everything made me fall right back asleep after the blood transfusion. I had so many emotions swirling through me, and I didn't know what to make of them. On one hand, I was grateful that my son was still alive, but I also knew that he might grow up with some developmental issues. I didn't have a problem with that, but the fact that Becky would be the reason that my son struggled made me feel hot with anger. I was asleep for a good 3 hours, and when I woke up, I felt much better. Once again, Eugene was next to me and immediately rushed to my side when I woke up. Hi, sweetie. You fell asleep for a little while. How do you feel right now? A lot better. How's our son? They've managed to stabilize him. He'll have to be in the NICU for the next 2 months. Will I be able to hold him? Not yet, but soon. I promise. Until then, we will definitely get to see him. I saw him, and he looks adorable. All right, I'm glad that everything's okay. But you wanted to see my mom, right? Oh, yeah. Is she here? She's waiting outside. Shall I bring her in? Yeah. Hi, Pearl. How are you? Not doing so good. Eugene, did you update her on what happened? No, he didn't tell me anything. He just asked me to rush here. Eugene, could you tell her what happened? Since I got here, well, Mom, after you came running to us about Pearl slipping down the stairs, she ended up bleeding a lot. She had to get induced so she could give birth to the baby. Thankfully, the doctors and nurses managed to stabilize our son. He's just going to be in the NICU for a while now. Oh, you gave birth, Pearl. Congratulations. Don't even. Do you have something to say to me and Eugene? What are you talking about, sweetie? You said Becky came running to you after I slipped, right? Yes, and I'm so grateful, but at least she saw it because none of us heard you fall. Great. Now, Becky, should I be the one to tell him, or will you do it yourself? What is she talking about, Mom? Oh, I don't know. She just gave birth. She's probably just making things up. She's probably suffering from mommy brain. Lord knows I had a bad case of it after I gave birth to you. Do not even try to make this into something as arbitrary as that. Eugene, your mother pushed me down the stairs. What? You remember how I went to check on Becky after she had been gone inside the house for a really long time? Yeah, turns out she was in the house for so long because she wanted to find proof of me faking my pregnancy. Why on earth would you be faking your pregnancy? Apparently, she thought that I was stealing her spotlight. I didn't say that. Those were literally the last words you told me before you pushed me down the stairs. Mom, is this true? Fine. I will admit that I was a little jealous of her, but you have to believe me when I say that I didn't think she was actually pregnant. So, you willingly endangered the life of my wife and my child because you didn't think something was true. Oh, come on, honey. She didn't even look that pregnant. How was I supposed to know? You can't just push people down the stairs. What if Poe hit her head hard enough to cause permanent damage? What would you have done, huh? I don't know. I'm so sorry. You know what? I don't want you here. I will talk to you after I figure out what is going on in my mind. Becky tried to stay for longer, but Eugene was having none of it. All that I was feeling when I looked at her was blinding rage. How could she do something like that to me and my baby? How could she even try to justify her actions? Eugene had Becky escorted out of our room and had her barred from visiting me or the baby. Eugene would not stop apologizing for his mother after that, but I told him he had no reason to apologize. He did nothing wrong, and in fact did the right thing by cutting her out for now. It took a few days, and then I was discharged. The next 2 months, I got a lot of calls from family checking in on me and making sure that I and the baby were doing okay. Aside from that, Eugene and I also spent a lot of our time going back and forth from the hospital just to see that my son was doing well. It was a very stressful time, but thankfully, our families were very supportive and helpful in every way. Becky also did try to reach out to us, but we didn't care to respond to her. We wanted nothing to do with her, and we were going to show her as much. She did not take that lightly, so we had to block her. Finally, after 2 months in the NICU, we were able to take our son back home. I cried really hard when I finally got to hold my son, and so did Eugene. Just the thought that we almost lost him made me want to throw up. Word got around that we had brought our son back home, and somehow Becky found out too. She got herself another phone number just to be able to communicate with us. When she saw that we weren't answering those texts either, she decided the best thing to do was to come to our house unannounced. Thankfully, Eugene opened the door. If I had opened the door, Lord knows, I would have chewed her out and possibly even hurt her for the stress she put my family under. Becky looked haggard and older than when we last saw her. She had tears in her eyes as she begged Eugene to talk to her. "Please, talk to me, Mom. You need to stop trying to contact us." "How can I not? My son won't talk to me, and I don't get to see my grandson." "You think you get to see our son? You don't think we're in pain from not being able to hold our little boy? I really am sorry. Please at least talk to me. I thought I was doing something right. How was pushing my wife down a flight of stairs the right thing to do? She's always been trying to steal everyone's attention. I see the way that she tries so hard, and it's just so darn hard to keep my anger in check. You have no idea how insane you sound right now." "I do not. I was trying to do what was best for you." "Best for me? How was this best for me? I always knew you could do so much better than Pearl. I was just trying to get you to see that by almost killing my child and wife. Are you kidding me right now? What you did was not done for me, but because you couldn't handle the fact that there was someone better than you in your family. Pearl is not better than me. Oh, she is in every way. She cooks better food and has a much better temperament than you. Why do you think more of our family has started coming over to our place for Thanksgiving? When we host, nobody can stand you and your entitlement. You take that back right this second. That is no way to speak to your mother. No, I will speak to you the way you deserve to be spoken to. You made our lives a nightmare from the start, and I have been silent about it only because Pearl begged me not to damage my relationship with you. Okay, I get it. I'm a horrible mother." "You are. You absolutely are. You're lucky that we're not going to the police about you hurting Pearl and our son." "Oh, please. Like you have evidence of it. It'll be my word against hers." "Who said we didn't have evidence? Don't try and bluff me right now." "Look, Pearl and I are exhausted, and we want this time to be as calm as possible. So, for the foreseeable future, I do not want to hear from or see you again. Do you get it? You can't do that. I want to see my grandson too." "Oh, you are never seeing your grandson. What? You have no idea how much our son is going to suffer thanks to your jealousy. The least I could do is make sure that he never meets the source of his problem. I will fight for my grandparents' rights. Go for it. Bye. Eugene was mad that Becky still had the audacity to even show up. If it were me in her place, I would never have shown my face to my family, but hey, everyone's different, I guess. Becky did not give up on trying to contact us. Not only would she call and text us a whole bunch of times, but she would also show up at our doorstep and make a huge ruckus until we opened the door. So, Eugene and I did the only sensible thing and got a restraining order against Becky. She once again did not like that, but I was so tired by this point that I really did not care. Thankfully, Eugene and I dealt with Becky just in time for us to take our son. Let me tell you, holding him for the first time made me sob and feel so grateful that he was still alive. Eugene and I decided to use the next few months to just bond with our child, so we didn't let anyone come over to see the baby. Thankfully, after everything that happened, everyone was happy to comply. Becky, however, did not stop trying to bother us. One day, we actually received a summons to come to court because Becky was trying to fight for her grandparents' rights. That threw me into a blind rage. I couldn't believe that she was actually trying to claim grandparent rights when she almost killed me and the grandson she so desperately wanted to see. I asked Eugene to grab the evidence and make our way to a lawyer's firm. We hired a good lawyer, showed him the evidence, and he told us that we could charge Becky, even though we didn't want to do it earlier. After dealing with her harassment for months, we decided to press charges against her. The trial that followed was truly something out of a movie. Becky cried and sobbed at first because we were neglecting her and not letting her visit her only grandson. I could tell that the jury was a little sympathetic towards her, but I knew I had the most incriminating piece of evidence for her. When the footage of her pushing me down the stairs played, everyone in the room went silent, and Becky grew pale. After the first hearing, Becky blasted us with calls and texts, accusing us of hiding the truth from her. We figured it was in the best interest that we blocked her. After a couple of weeks, Becky was charged with attempted murder of an unborn child and was sentenced to 6 months in jail. All her appeals were denied, and Eugene and I couldn't have been happier. Of course, word got around in Eugene's family as well about what Becky had done, and let's just say that nobody wants anything to do with her anymore. She's going to have a tough time when she's done with her sentence. As for Eugene and I, we're gradually getting used to being first-time parents, and we're loving every second of it. I'm just glad we get to do it stress-free. We were considering moving, but that's a decision to make for a later time. Thank you so much for listening.